There's the light that says we're on the air. Hi guys, it's 6:59 p.m. ish Mountain Time, and this is August the 27th, 2025, a Wednesday. Now, let me ask you a question, okay? When's the last time you took a taxi, or when's the last time you took an Uber or a Lyft because you were too cheap to buy a taxi? Well, from everything I've seen from the beginning, you would not catch me anywhere in an Uber or a Lyft. This rideshare stuff is fraught with problems. We'll talk about them tonight, and I'll explain just why I say what I say. First, the burp button. All right, here we go. Time and time again, we see in the news where an Uber or Lyft driver has either abandoned, kicked out of a car, beaten, robbed, or even killed their passenger. All right, now why is this not nearly the case with a taxi driver? Well, maybe it's because a cab driver has to have a chauffeur's license. That's a special license. You got to know special things to get the license. Then he has to have a training program with a taxi company so he knows little things like where he can park, where he can't park, where he can let passengers off, where he can't, yada, 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 yada. Applying to drive a taxi can be an arduous experience. I've talked to some cabbies in New York and Chicago, Salt Lake City. It can be tough, and your credentials, your background are very carefully vetted because, after all, what are you doing? You're taking unsuspecting, innocent, maybe even naive people from point A to point B in your car. You're charging them money for it. Well, recently we had another case that has risen to prominence, and this time it's about an illegal alien Uber driver. Yes, that's right. Uber let an illegal alien drive their car, or his car, whatever the case may be, all right, let me read it here get the copy. He allegedly attacked, beat, and left for dead a passenger he didn't like. Say what? How in hell does an illegal alien get permission to drive innocent, unsuspecting people around? How does that happen? Well, actually, it's rather easy, since this borsht-sucking Russian illegal could never have become a cab driver. He went the easy route and signed up with Uber. Come on. I guess Uber will let just about anything with a body temperature of 98.6 drive with their name in the window. Oh, doesn't Uber do background checks on their drivers? Well, you'd think so. You'd think this $200 billion corporation would do at least that. But apparently, that's not quite on their list of priorities. They mustn't have decided it's very important to know who is driving cars with their name on it. So in this case, which is one of countless others, let's see what happened. I could go on for years reading the horrible transgressions of Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, but let's go to this one case. The CEO of a company called BioPharm, his name is Bryan Kobel, and he is suing Uber. Okay, why? He alleges, with video, still images, eyewitness reports, and police reports, little more than alleges, to show that an Uber driver attacked him, left him for dead, and a few minutes later took on another passenger and went on like nothing happened. Mr. Kobel is suffering from traumatic brain injury caused by the assault, being thrown to the ground, and beaten in the head multiple times. Kobel, he's suing Uber. Yes, sounds like he has good reason to. And why? Because Uber failed to provide a safe environment and properly vet their driver, who happened to be, are you ready, an illegal alien. Yeah, baby. I don't mean the one with the antennas. I mean the one with beet stains on his shirt, whose breath smells like borscht. The attack is alleged to have happened last April. Well, I'm catching up to it because there was an incident 2 days ago, but I want to stick with the one where I have full documentation so I don't get my ass sued off. Here we go. Kobel contacted Uber, by the way. This is after he got beat up, after the driver took another passenger, took off. Kobel contacted Uber, sent them medical records, police report, photographs of his injuries. He says about 2 to 3 days later, Uber deactivated his account. Kobel argues that Uber, again, has failed to provide a safe environment for passengers in not properly vetting its drivers and has avoided taking accountability for what happened to him. Kobel said, here's a quote from Kobel. You would have assumed, and I had up until that date, that they, Uber, do background checks. They vet their individuals. That they've got a stringent process that's difficult to evade. But apparently that's not the case, end quote. The Uber driver has been identified as Vadim Ulyumchev. Sounds like a mouthful. It's a Russian name. It's one of those Ulyumchev, whatever. 42 years old, another beat-stomping, borsht-sucking Russian illegal alien. And that's according to the Department of Homeland Security. Yep, it's true. Uber hired an illegal alien, and look what's happened as a result. After the attack, Vadim was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and battery. And then the guy was released on a $10,000 bond. That's $1,000 out of pocket. You're a free man. Well, that's okay because ICE picked his sorry ass up, and now he is awaiting trial and deportation. Kobel said, and I quote again, I was taken aback. It made me wonder, how often has this person done it? How many other times is this going to happen? End quote. This is not an only time, nor is it a rare case. It is what you can expect when you let any Tom, Dick, or Harry drive for your company, and take innocent passengers to and fro. It seems that Uber has the same tactics every time this happens. In a few cases we found, they disavow any sort of liability. They disavow any responsibility. They disavow any accountability. They throw their hands up and say, it's got nothing to do with us. Come on. Uber's almost humorous reply to this. Yes, they were asked to reply. You'll love it. Listen to this. There is no place for violence on the Uber platform. While we can't comment on pending litigation, Uber is deeply committed to safety and complies with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations around worker eligibility, end quote. You listen to this legal backtalk. What they're saying is, we're walking that fine line, we're obeying the law, but the letter, not the spirit. Okay, if they're falling in line, why didn't they do an I-9 on this guy to see if he was legal? Wait a minute. They probably didn't need to because Uber drivers aren't technically employees. They're some sort of a kind of half-ass subcontractor, sort of, kind of. And as much as they're not usually vetted, so it would seem. Of course, Uber follows the law to the letter of the minimum standard and hangs on that razor's edge of culpability and deniability. You know, if the Menendez brothers, if the Menendez brothers are ever released on parole or probation, they can always apply with Uber. I don't see too much trouble with them getting hired, do you?